this spectacular place, surrounded by these coastal redwoods, the waves, gray whales. And really it's been a pleasure to be around for 2 weeks, coming with my wife and my daughter. This has been just spectacular. Until I was 16 years old, I was almost going to be a professional tennis player. It's something I have not tell many people, actually. And then I stood up in a surfboard. My life changed completely. I stopped playing tennis, actually, and started exploring Peru and this beautiful country that I have the privilege to have been born on. And when I started traveling across Peru, I started seeing all these places that were changing. And I decided to study law because I thought that one of the ways to fight against the system was actually knowing how the regulations as a system work, so we can actually change it. So I had this difficult moment where I decided to study law. How many lawyers are in this room? It's quite a few, huh? So there's good lawyers, actually. That's good. And surfing has changed my life. This is a place where I grew up. This is Lima. And how many people have been in Lima? So being raised in Lima and being a pedestrian in Lima is maybe more dangerous than at least crossing the oceans. It's chaos, it's traffic, it's insecure. But do you see that little spot in the end of the image? That's the hill of El Morro. And behind that place, there's a place called Herradura. So Lima is one of the few capitals in the world that has the ocean just in front of us. And this place is 5 minutes from Lima. And in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it used to be this pristine place. Most of the people will go to Herradura to connect with nature. It was quite famous, this beautiful sand beach. And it was very consistent. Even with a small swell, Herradura will be firing. And it has these barreling sections, 3 sections, 800 meters. You saw some pictures from Carlo before. It's one of my favorite places in the world. It's a national sanctuary. And there was this mayor in the 80s, in a moment where Peru was facing terrorism after a military regime. I have a lot of empathy for you guys that are facing with Trump. That is our history throughout my whole life. The slight difference is that we don't have access to nuclear weapons. But this guy made a road, and with this road, he really destroyed the place. Surfers tried to do something about it, but there was still not a very strong environmental movement, and surfers were still not united. So the road was built, and that's what happened. You see the picture above, it says before, this beautiful beach, wow. Like the waves, you can see them there, a windsurf or somebody using the wind to, like it's not a windsurf, it's a sailboat. And afterwards you have this place just full of rocks. No? So it not only affected surfers, it affected the whole people that lived in Lima. So everyone got engaged, and people were hurt with this. And crises often create opportunities. You know, it's like the shock doctrine from Naomi Klein, but used in a positive way. No? So a couple of years later, there was this place in northern Peru. So those who have the luck to have been to northern Peru, you know, this is the land of lefts, amazing barrels. And the 2 best places to get barreled in Peru are Cabo Blanco with the north swells and Panic Point with the south swells. And they're both in the same place. It's called Cabo Blanco. And this is how Cabo Blanco used to look in the 1980s, the 1990s, until the fishermen who lived from fishing needed a pier. And the previous pier that they had collapsed. So they did this pier. They wanted to do a pier just in the main place where the break starts. It was going to destroy the wave. So surfers decided this time they were not going to let this happen. And they united, and Javier Fernandez and Javier Huarcaya is a really nice guy that lives in San Diego. I've only met him by email, actually. But he knew someone in Surf Rider Foundation and told him how to create an organization in Peru to protect waves. And he created with Javier Fernandez Acoplo, was the first NGO in Peru dedicated to the protection of waves. Oops. And in 1992, the conflict that was created in Cabo Blanco in order to have the wave protected and the fishermen at the same time wanted to have their pier being built was a thing that was in all the media, politicians were involved, the authorities had to do something, and the Navy had a brilliant idea. It didn't come from any conservationist, it didn't come from a lawyer, it came from someone in the Navy that said to ACOPLO, to this organization that was created for the protection of waves, that they would like to have a list of those waves that they wanted to have protected so that they can create a registry and protect them for their recreation and tourism purposes. You know? So this came from a person in the Navy, and this is something that we just found out like in the last month when doing research for a film that we're doing with Patagonia support. 8 years later, we have a law in Peru, which is the law La Ley Rompientes. And it's based on that idea that someone in the Navy decided to propose to the Peruvian surfers. And this law, what allows is to protect waves and the reason is because there's a wave that got reserved. It took 13 years for the regulations to be passed that made the law into force. The law was not going to be into force until the regulations were passed, and we had to go through a lot of negotiations. And again, there were some crises. A wave was going to be again affected. The Peruvian team was the ISA world champ. That got some visibility into the Congress, and then some connection happened at the end. The law was passed, the regulations were passed, and finally we had this amazing legal system to protect waves in Peru. But still, no wave was protected. So we had everything in place. A year goes by, and the people in the Surfing Federation were still not knowing how to actually protect waves. The law says the following. It creates the registry to protect waves, but in order to be registered, you have to present a technical file. And that technical file has to prove technically that that wave exists. So it's not only like, I was there and I was telling the guys, hey, I can send you a picture, you can go with me as well, and you'll see where's the wave, where it finished, we have videos. And it's like, no, we're the Navy. If we're going to like restrict our uses, you have to show me that there's a technical justification. So at the end, we got to this agreement where we were going to do bathymetric studies of the place with historical waves and how frequent they were, the size, so we could show that there was a wave actually in that place. And that would prohibit that any infrastructure could be built in those areas that impacted the waves. So the technical file will look something like that. They will designate an area that is, main purpose is to be protected for surfing. So this is interesting. What is a wave? You know, well, it's water moving across the ocean. It hits some bottom of a rocky or sand or reef bottom and creates a wave. But in the eyes of the law, what this law created was the possibility of making a wave a legal entity. And this might be something difficult for people that are not lawyers, but you know when you have to create an organization, it's a legal entity. We are humans are also like a legal entity, because we have some rights and obligations, and that's what wave for the first time was something that was written in the law as a legal entity. And if somebody affected the law, could be fined, could be put in jail, because it was affecting a legal entity. And also, if we wanted to protect a wave, as lawyers, we had much better tools to protect it until we can take people to a court. In the past, we would not have any good tools to do it. So then we had all the system again, but no wave protected. And then we had this amazing person arriving to Peru after spending most of her life windsurfing across the planet. It's Carolina, who's standing up here. And this is also to pay a tribute to Carolina because she has dedicated the last 3 years all her energies, and you can see that she has a lot of energy by making this turn in Maui, into making this happen. So we decided to use some of the lessons that we have learned in the past 5 years, trying to engage as many Peruvians into conservation action in Peru. And we decided that this had to be something that was a movement. And it has to be built with the engagement of everyone that was surfing. Because if a wave was going to be affected in the future, everyone had to feel that they had been part of protecting that place. So what we did was creating this campaign called Haz la Portuola. From the beginning, we had the support of Patagonia. So I think, Alex, you're there. And I also wanted to thank that because they trust in us from the beginning, with our companies also. But the idea was that everyone could get involved in different levels. It was focused on creating leadership at the local level because as Nick Bush has said, like, at the local level, at the end, there's going to be conservation action. So you have to really like promote that local leadership. And you have to feel that you're part of a network. So now we have a website that allows people to donate funds and talent for protecting waves. Each wave has its own profile. It says who has donated money, how much has everyone donated money, and the percentages of how it's advancing. So people have accountability, there's transparency. When money is involved, things can get really bad. So transparency and accountability are key for the process. And for each wave, we have different strategies. From involving now friends like Jack Johnson into protecting a place, the involvement on Billabong, Quicksilver, different kind of people and companies have been involved. And the impact now after 2.5 years is that we've collected $80,000, 24 waves are legally protected in Peru, more than 1,000 people involved. And the last minute is, I just wanted to say, like, what are the challenges ahead? And because I would like to involve you guys also into this. And we have all this impact has been created, but there's still 100 waves to be protected in Peru. And the bathymetric studies are expensive, but they're not so expensive in terms of what is achievable. So we want to ask for your help to help us, like crowdfunding for this campaign. With $50,000, our next stage is to try to crowdfund for $50,000. And we're producing a film with the support of Patagonia. So once that comes out, we would love to have your help on the dissemination and maybe doing crowdfunding events in wherever you are. We want to have alliances with universities that have oceanographers or people that can do bathymetric studies, so we don't have to pay someone in Peru to do them. Like this could be a research project. We want to replicate in other countries. This helps. It's not the only formula, but we have to have a portfolio of legal tools to protect waves. This is one of them. So we're now working in Chile to try to do that with Fundación Rompientes and save the waves. Then defend the waves when something happens. So what we've done in Peru is now create a commission to defend waves. That is, gives format to come. And the last one is involving the next generation. You know, like I came with my baby from 4 months and a half. She's going to be completely involved. But I would love to see in the next Global Wave Conference people that are under 20 years old. The grown-ups here, like listening to what we're speaking, trying to get on the stage and also like giving them voice. So thank you for organizing this, and I'll leave you with our panelists.
I'm gonna talk about the work we are doing down in Bahía Todos Santos to protect our surf breaks. But I'm also going to show you a little bit about the research that I'm doing for my PhD, using my experience with the World Surfing Reserve to develop a framework proposal for surf break conservation and management. So this is Bahía Todos Santos. It's located in the peninsula of Baja California, just 68 miles south of the border with the United States. We have 5 beautiful surf breaks. You can see here, San Si Puede, San Miguel, 3M's, Stacks, and Todos Santos. However, these beautiful places are threatened by several issues like coastal development, beach access restriction, poor water quality, and pollution by solid waste. So we're working on these issues down in Baja. This is San Miguel. San Miguel is one of Mexico's most iconic surf spots. It's also the birthplace of Mexican surfing. This is a photo of the Baja Surf Club in 1966. Actually, the Baja Surf Club was recently relaunched with a total new generation of local surfers, and we are having the Baja Surf Club Invitational in every year in January, so you're more than welcome to come and visit. This is also San Miguel, 1966. One of the first initiatives of the World Surfing Reserve was the project of to support the creation of the first state park in Baja California. Every time when we say the first state park, especially to people that live in California, are pretty amazed. And now that I drove all the way here, I can see why we have crossed like I don't know how many state parks. And God, I hope one way we get there. But we're working directly with the Pro Natura Noroeste and the Secretary of Environmental Protection we're pushing really hard, and I think we are about to finalize this process. So we're pretty positive that soon we'll hear really good news. And by protecting the watershed, we'll be also protecting the wake. That doesn't mean we're going to stop there. As a next step, we want to protect also the marine area, but we're taking step by step so the government doesn't get scared. Oops, got to stop again. So this is 3Ms. 3Ms is one of the most consistent surf rates in Ensenada. It's where the first national surfing competition was held, and it's where all the local kids go to train. So it's a very special local spot. It's my daughter's favorite surf rate. It's a beautiful place. And it's a beautiful place. When there's a low tide, you can see tide pools. It's a rocky seafloor, and there are kelp forests. So it's a beautiful area. But unfortunately, it's inside an industrial area, and it's under the Port Administration concession. So the Port Administration has a concession for the road access, the cliff, and the marine area. So we are really worried about this source spot. Today we are working with the local community in an effort to protect the site from an industrial seawater intake and outfall system near the lineup. So we gave the company that installed these pipelines a technical opinion based on scientific research before they started working, and unfortunately they didn't take into account all our recommendations. So now we are working through an environmental firm we're sending a petition to the federal government so they can revise the technical studies of this industrial pipeline. So that's the next step that we're working. The local community is really involved in this project. So this is Todos Santos. Todos Santos Island, this is the big wave of killers located at Todos Santos. So Todos Santos is a place with endemic species and surrounded by kelp forests and small rocky islands. Todos Santos is now part of the biosphere reserve of the islands of the Pacific Ocean, so it's now a natural protected area. But as previous panelists told you, that doesn't mean that it's protected forever. So we're working directly now with the National Commission of Protected Areas. So last year, with our local big wave surfer, Vicente Yazbek, we led an effort to remove solid waste and marine debris from near the surf break in the northern island. And we had the support of local divers from the university, but we also had the international support of Save the Waves and Parlay for the Ocean. And Ramon Navarro came all the way from Chile, Greg Long came, Otto Flores, and it was an amazing experience. We all worked together to remove this marine debris from the island. And the amazing thing was that this cleanup opened a line of collaboration directly with the Commission of National Protected Areas in Mexico. So now they approached us and they called us and they said like, okay, you helped us, now we want to help you. Let's work together. So we're now officially invited to work on the management plan for the Biosphere Reserve, and we're invited to be part of a monitoring program for Todos Santos Island. So we're really happy. All that. So we are also very happy because now we are officially part of the Citizen Counseling for the management program of Clean Beaches of Ensenada. So we're working directly with the local authorities to address issues in every beach in Ensenada, including on our surf breaks. And now we're pushing for San Miguel, 3Ms and Stacks to be under the municipality's water monitoring program. So we're getting actions done directly with the local authorities, so we're very happy. So what I'm doing for my research is that I'm using all this experience with the World Surfing Reserve to do a proposal for a framework to protect and conserve surf rates. And that's what I'm going to show you next. So this is my research proposal. I'm combining 3 frameworks. These frameworks are commonly used to study ecological systems. So what I did is that I said, okay, let's use the social ecological system framework as a tool to describe the complexity of the interaction between the human and the natural system inside the World Surfing Reserve. And then let's use the driving forces, pressure, state, impact, response framework to reduce this complexity into indicators and to measure the surf rate sustainability and to see how human activities are affecting the whole ecosystem. And together with the adaptive co-management framework, this can provide the grounded approach for surf rate conservation and management. So I'm just going to show you the 3 different frameworks. So this is the social ecological system, and it's a tool that helps you make a diagnosis of your area, taking into account the social system and the ecological system. And it basically tells you to use 4 categories. So to define your resource system, to define your resource units, then to analyze your governance system, and by governance I don't mean only the government, but all the organized groups and institutions that set the rules, how to relate to the system, and then to characterize your actors, and not only your source, but every key actor that is linked to the system. So it's a really practical tool to make a diagnosis. And then this information is the SEER framework. This framework is really useful for policymakers, and it also helps you, and it's really used also in integrated social management because it integrates a broad perspective of stakeholders, and it establishes a cause effect between the human activities and the ecological consequences. So what I did is that I identified all the issues together with other organizations and the work we are doing in the Clean Beaches program in Ensenada. We identified the main issues and the impact and the responses that the different organizations are having, but also the responses that we would like to have. So this information provides the general basis for the adaptive co-management framework. We consider that this framework is a promising tool for surf rate management because it has an adaptive approach to solve management problems, and it promotes partnership, and it has a community-based bottom-top approach, so it's perfect for surf rate management. And it's a participatory process in which every actor it's part of the monitoring and it's part of the evaluation of the results. So this is what I'm doing. It's going to be published in a few months. So hopefully I can show you the results pretty soon. And finally, I just want to show you my daughter. her passion for surfing and has taken her all the way to the ISA Junior World Surfing Games. And she was in Japan just last year. And her love for our surf rate is what inspires me to work really hard every day and to keep on working to protect our surf rates.
With you guys. And one of the characteristics about Chile is that we have what is called TERS. And TERS, for maybe as many of you know, are the territorial user rights officials. What does it mean in Spanish, I would say? In English, means that there is a portion of sea or coastal edge that is granted for the local fishermen by law, and they have the access to the marine benthic resources on that area. And this is interesting that we made a research, and many of those turfs are within or located where are the surf rates. So at the end, we as a surfers, we end surfing on the workplace. And I think it's very important to understand this relation, because we need to be very respectful for the people who work on that place when we go surfing. So, and also, and I didn't say, but surfs represent approximately 1,000 square kilometers all across the coast. So it's a very important place. Challenges in Chile are many, of course, as we are seeing today. But coastal challenges are affecting, of course, surf rates, but are more affecting people. And I think it's quite important to realize that when we make a development with a lack of planning, that is one of the main issues we have in Chile, we have a policy structure that is very complex. We have a system in which we do not have an institution responsibly with the compulsory power to manage our coastal edge. And when those lack of planning occurs, we at the end, who are more affected is people who belong to the sea, people who work for the sea. This is Maria, and Maria, what she has here is her products for ages. She worked for that product, the seaweed, that she takes from the turf, and where we surf too. So, I will show you some video about Ramon that I think we as surfers, we in Chile particularly, maybe here not, but in Chile, as a surfer, we need to be responsible that we are bringing also people. Of course, that is quite good. But this, when we show the places, has been a lot of growing speculation about land. And this land means when you want to develop a project on the coastal edge, it means the displacement of local inhabitants. And that's why I made the relation about the importance of surf rates, but also about the people, because sometimes people is being displaced. So it's more about, of course, surf rates protection, but it's a social, environmental issue that is occurring there. So I will show you a video of Ramon that is great, and she explains so well this situation.
Yo creo que los surfistas somos en gran parte responsables del crecimiento de los lugares. Damos la difusión con fotos en revistas, videos, hacemos crecer el lugar, hablando del lugar, invitando cada vez más gente. Se ha visto en ejemplos claros que muchas de las playas en Chile, nosotros mismos como surfistas las hemos hecho más conocidas, las hemos hecho más famosas, y eso genera ambición de las personas con poder económico, donde la ambición de las personas por tener estos terrenos en primera línea terminan matando los lugares y terminan sobrepoblando. No hay nada de malo que los lugares crezcan en sí. El problema y lo malo está en la regulación de cómo hacer ese crecimiento. Y ahí yo creo que donde Chile completo está en un problema grave, que no hay una regulación de cómo pueden crecer los lugares.
A lot when we start thinking in terms of we need to be responsible of our job there, and we need to take action. And that's why Fundación Rompientes is born, to take action, to be part that as a surface we have a responsibility to make these changes. So how we made the question, how we could create a scalable model to legally protect this wave in Chile. Well, how we start studying the law, of course, and what legal instruments do we have. And as far as this was said before, Chile has increased a lot their MPAs during the last 4 years. We increased from up 4% of our exclusive economic zone up to 46% in the last 4 years. That is quite a good achievement for the Chilean government. However, and this is what we have discussed before, many of these areas are located very far, and so there is a very complex enforcement of those MPAs. They are not located near shore water, and they are not located particularly in the central coast of Chile, where we have the industries, where we have the most people, and where we have the most amazing way for surfing too. So today, and it's recognized, we have an urgent need to effectively manage those MPAs and create this nearshore water is definitely an urgent need. And we saw, and that surf breaks are definitely an opportunity. An opportunity to create and to bring people and ocean together. That is one of the things that we learn at Impact, the importance to bring those things together. So, talking too much. So as we know, and we have learned here a lot, the surfing offers us a wide range of value, social, economic, and environmental, and cultural. And then particularly in Chile, what we saw is these beautiful interactions that occur among surfers and traditional fishermen. And also, well, it's a little below, but the protection of this place could serve as a platform to widespread NPA initial water. But what tool should we use? Then this is the question we are trying to respond to. The Chilean law, they are so boring, baby. The Chilean law offers different kind of tools, legal tools, from natural sanctuaries, national monuments, marine parks, marine reserves, and the marine coastal protected area for multiple use. As far as we have discussed here, many of these ones have different kind of protection, different kind of extraction of the legal resources. But we are talking about conservation, we need to understand, from my perspective, there is people who needs to work on that area. So we need to combine and continually grow, working with them in this sense. So in order to protect waste, we realized that there is two main tools that we can use under the existing Chilean tools. One are the natural sanctuaries that are recognized under the Chilean law as a territorial or marine site that offer special possibilities for research studies, geological, paleontological, zoological, many focus on science, however or that contain natural formation which conservation is needed for the science or the state. And on the other hand, we have the multiple-use marine protected areas that open us a possibility to argument that surf is a valid activity to protect the place. But the interesting that and what are we working is to try to understand that the government needs to realize that natural formation, the importance of the natural formation of the surface. When we have talked before about the importance of surf economics. So we are working closely with the government in order to create this area on the central region of Chile. So we believe that coastal protection needs to be a collaborative effort, an integrated process that needs to include all aspects of the coastal edge in order to achieve sustainability. And I will present you here two cases in which we have been involved in Chile. One case that's quite interesting because when we started the research, we realized that there wasn't already a legally protected way. But when you start digging, we realized that in the north part of the central region of Chile, there is a place called Navidad. And Navidad, with the local fishermen activities, the local fishermen cooperative, they realized that many surfers use that spot that is amazing. And they realized that constantly there was conflict among users. So they said, okay, let's create a natural sanctuary on this space. And they create the first legally protected way through a natural sanctuary that is beautiful because it's a common-based approach. It starts from the bottom up. It wasn't top down. So I think it's quite remarkable, these examples, and it's something that we would love to replicate all across Chile too. So it's very innovative, this model, because it's protection of marine biodiversity, linking turf in order to achieve sustainability, and it recognizes the area for its multiple uses. And this is why we think we can use this tool specifically to go over another part of Chile. This is the first case. And the second case that I've been involved very, very hard, because also I have a piece of, my house is up on the top, and I used to study in Australia, and when I came to Australia, I came to Chile, and I want to get into the beach, and I saw a fence. And I said, come on, why there is a fence here? I want access to the beach. No, there is a real development project, you can't access. Okay, thank you, buddy. So what I said, no, it's not possible. I studied law for something, and we started to organize a movement. We started a movement, about 5,000 signatures. We collect and we open a campaign called Abramos Tococalma, which is meaning in Spanish, let's open the fences. And the people of the local community is 6,000 people. So we almost get everybody involved with big notebooks, and we, at the end, what we did, we present the claim, we present the suit to the governor in order to require an access to the beach. But the access to the beach wasn't only for us, for surfing, our activity. It's moreover for the people. Sorry, time up. Yeah, I will run. Well, and finally, we won the access. We won the access last December. We reopened the access to the beach, and we are close now working in this. And on a zoo, we present also a zoo to this big development project in order that this project needs to be assessed to the environmental impact assessment. So the zoo is about $9.2 million to the owner of the project. So we're quite happy with that. And just finishing, our proposal is, first, we want to create the first MPA for multiple uses in the central coast of Chile. We want that the central coast of Chile, that is a hotspot for biodiversity conservation for its multiple uses, needs to be recognized by law. And this will include 7 world-class waves. And the Punta Lobis is there on the bottom of the image, and we are located up to the north. And if we will create it, we will have a space of 40 kilometers of marine protected area recognition of the multiple uses. With this I finish. Our goal, as Sean said yesterday, he said, I will. Well, it's definitely inspiring me, but when you work with community, you need to understand that we will work together with them. And our goal is to create the first MPA for multiple uses on the central coast of Chile by 2019. Here I will invite to all of you, if you want to share with us knowledge and sharing co-founding, to get that goal and to accomplish our commitment of we will do that. So thank you very much for this time, and see you again.
And I'm here to enlist you in a project. Following his 1975 commencement address to graduating seniors at Harvard, Muhammad Ali was implored to give us a poem to draw on his incredible abilities as a communicator, an inspirational figure, and a leader, to say one more thing to the assembled group. What resulted, I believe, is the shortest poem in American letters. Me, we, which I believe speaks to not only Ali's gifts as a poet, a communicator, and a leader, but if you will also indulge me a bit, I think it also expresses a useful context in which to examine our sport. The me of surfing is a powerful and popular construction, a direct appeal to a set of values, an aesthetic ideal, and even a perspective of surfing-related research. The me of surfing is the solitary iconography of the lone surfer against the waves, or about to paddle out altogether. The me of surfing is my session, my waves, my rides, and my beach. However, such a typology doesn't describe the social, intergenerational, and communal aspects of surfing, the we of surfing. The we of surfing takes place in the water and on the beach at places like the Shack at Windansea, the Shack at San Onofre, and I'll get to a bit more for a time, the Shack at Malibu. The we of surfing is conducted at places like this. At surf breaks and surfing areas where people have interacted with their natural environment to create places of community, of recreation, of tradition, of history, and of culture. Recently, we had the opportunity to test this idea at the iconic surf spot in Los Angeles County of Malibu. The idea is that surfing areas are true nature-culture connections, worthy of recognition, illumination, celebration, and worthy of protection. My name is Michael, and I'm here to enlist you in a project. Surfing areas are indeed natural sites available for cultural analysis. Cultural heritage conservation provides a valuable, direct, and alternate focus compared to more common conservation efforts protecting biophysical environments alone. We use the important tool of historic preservation, the National Register of Historic Places, as our framework to examine cultural heritage and historic significance at Malibu. The National Register is the nation's official list of historic properties worthy of preservation. It comprises some 90,000 properties and about 1.4 million objects. On a daily basis and at local levels, we most often interact with the National Register with either products of our constructed environment or with places of our historic past. If you will, buildings and bridges on one hand, and battlefields, burial grounds, and other sacred sites on the other. If the National Register is dominated by such listings, it is in no way limited to them. And so we both wanted to explore the idea of historic preservation as a pathway for coastal conservation, but also, is Malibu worthy of recognition in the National Register? Well, I am pleased and privileged to report to this group that the Malibu surfing area, designated as the Malibu Historic District, is now listed in the National Register of Historic Places. It recognizes its important worldwide contributions to the history and culture of the sport. This listing marks the first National Register listing centered on surfing history, and it also extends the 2010 honorific of Malibu as the first World Surfing Reserve. Through this listing, it designates a legally defined boundary, and it formally protects Malibu in state and federal coastal planning, specifically from the point of view of its surfing significance. The 160-acre Malibu Historic District is entirely contained on public property and shared among 3 state and county owners. The area contains both landside and nearshore areas and includes the famous First Point, Second Point, and Third Point surf breaks, in addition to the Malibu Pier as 4 contributing resources to the area. The listing does not change the area's nearby private property rights. It doesn't change current activities which may take place within the designated area, and it doesn't change underlying property ownership. Good time for some. The district recognizes and celebrates a period of post-war activity in which a pioneering group of shapers and designers reimagined the surfboard's performance and material construction. This is the beach of Simmons, of Kivlin, of Quigg, of Sweet, and of Velsey. It also recognizes a group of surfers who combine these new boards with the long, well-shaped waves of Malibu to develop a cool, relaxed, and a high-performance style of surfing. This is the beach of Simmons and of Kivlin, but it's also the beach of Les Williams, Ricky Brigg, Buzzy Trent, Aggie Bain, Vicky Flaxman, and Neil Gavaldon. And it recognizes a youthful, bohemian, and energy-filled look of surfing, closely identified and associated with California, and then sold to the rest of the world. This is, of course, the beach of Gidget. My name is Michael, and I'm here to enlist you in a project. The cultural analysis of natural sites of places like Malibu create real conservation opportunities through the practice of historic preservation. This Malibu project suggests several other conservation efforts, and I'll work toward my close with describing 2 possible paths. The first is there should be more projects like Malibu. Let us work together and work toward regional networks of recognized and celebrated surfing areas, where sites are recognized individually for their significance and for the emergent connections which the network also becomes significant. Let us work toward a network of protected surfing areas, like North Carolina's network of historic lighthouses, like California's network of Spanish missions. My name is Michael, and I'm here to enlist you in a project. other Malibu projects are possible. At places like your home grade, places you and your community value and cherish. Let's recognize, celebrate, and protect those places. A listing in the National Register also qualifies the district for other designations and protections based on cultural significance. And this suggests another area of work. My name is Michael, and I'm here to enlist you in a project. The ongoing project of coastal and marine conservation must be built on 3 pillars: natural heritage, protecting habitats and species, the sustainable production of those resources, and it must include cultural heritage. We as a surfing community must invest in the opportunities and potential of surfing area-related cultural heritage conservation. Surfing areas are natural sites available for cultural analysis. Sorry about that. The practice of historic preservation can deliver positive conservation outcomes. The Malibu Historic District project establishes a process and a precedent for other surfing area-related projects in your area. Let's do just that and work together to protect these places. Finally, conferences like this are sometimes opportunities to be a bit provocative for no other reason than to spur conversation. So if you'll allow me, I'm almost done. I'm going to gently and tentatively put my head into the lion's mouth with the following. The work that we've heard today about the tremendous efforts to protect natural heritage, to protect species, and to protect habitat is moving, it's inspirational, it's urgent, and as we've also heard, it's unfinished. But if it's unfinished, I also believe that it's insufficient. It's insufficient in and of itself to describe a program that completely captures surfing's traditions, surfing's history, and surfing's important places. I should also add that I think that for practitioners of marine conservation, focusing on natural heritage alone is also insufficient because it excludes different belief systems, different knowledge systems, and different histories of how people lived with and interacted with the coastal environment. Let us not interrupt our efforts to protect natural heritage, but let us not limit ourselves to those ideas either. Why should we hold on to just one program? We can reach out and grab them all. Thank you very much.